Do you know what it means to be a man?
No, I'm only a boy. Be able to take responsibility. I don't know.
You don't know her?
A man is somebody that's tall and work. Being able to have a family and also having a job.
As an artist, I see my role as someone who reflects the world around us, shining a light on things that often go unnoticed or forgotten. I've been working on a series of paintings that uses water as a way to explore the shifting nature of masculinity, moving beyond the typical lens of the male gaze, its ties to hypermasculinity, and what it means to be a man. How were you raised to understand what it means to be a man?
Well, your father is your father figure, man's figure. You got uncles. Mind you, these are people with substances, money, cars, that you'll be looking at them, you'll be so proud of them. So whatever they tell you, you take it to the bank.
I was raised without a father, but I definitely had a couple of uncles who were around. And one thing that I learned from them is the importance of commitment, sticking to things, and honoring your word.
Well, I had a nice dynamic, and a lot of my father's influence, my father's siblings, the men my father kept around him, some of the men from our community, some of the parents of my friends. The combination of all of those men around me helped me really scope out how to be a man and what a man meant.
My father was and is a pivotal part of my life. I consider him to be my superhero, my role model. He's taught me everything I needed to know to be a man, how to raise a family, um, how to love my wife, how to love my kids, because I saw those things. And he's invincible. And I truly say he's invincible. People say that like their father is a superhero, but I say that he's a superhero because, you know, he dealt with so much adversity. This man faced a bullet and survived.
Those are the people that gave me my start up in life of how to be a man, what to do, what is expected of me.
Part of growing up in Nigeria, were you taught what it means to be a man?
Oh, yeah, from, in our time then, you see, it takes a village to raise a kid. So those people in the village community, you learn so many things from them, and you learn so many things at home.
Or when you do something, before you get home, that news has already got home.
Yeah.
You got elders out there that sees you, and you dare not be bad out there. The fact that you think your dad or mom is not there, everybody is there, and they will report it back.
But they are your guidance. If you mess up out there, they will even correct you before they come. And you would prefer for them to even correct you rather than letting your parents know what you did out there.
When we are young, our idea of masculinity is shaped by what we see around us. We imitate the actions and the behaviors of the men in our lives. If we're lucky, we're blessed with a positive role model to learn from. But sometimes there's no one there to guide us. And our understanding gets shaped, often misguided, by our peers, the media, and even the arts. Do you think that masculinity, what it means to be a man, now is different from what it was back then?
Well, we have to put things in context. 51 years ago is a long time. Things has been redefined, redefined, and redefined. Masculinity has been refined many times.
What a man can do has very much been diluted. The problem I have now with emotions with my son is what he gets at school. It's a little bit more focused on mental health than my time. And it's far different than mental health from my father's time. And so mixing the mental health awareness and things like that went into my raising, blending it with what he's getting at school, because they're teaching him about being, okay, being okay to cry. I'll tell you, I probably could count on one finger how many times I've seen my father cry.
Will you say that your dad has made you feel safe?
No, I would not say that. Uh, like I said, it was tough love. I think the concept of being safe is more about feelings, and my dad more so prioritized facts over feelings. And so, with that being said, I don't think he made me feel safe. But I always had respect for him just because he was my dad. Kind of the African thing, respect your parents, hierarchy. He's been there, he's been present, he's put a roof over my head, that kind of thing. So I always had respect for him. But it's only until recently that our relationship is kind of mended, if you will.
Is there anything that you say you've learned from your dad?
Yeah, responsibility. He did make sacrifices for me, my mom, or like family, and he's someone that's always thought long term rather than short term. So I think I've learned responsibility and commitment from him via tough love.
I remember hearing a story when I was younger about a pair of twins who ended up living completely opposite lives. One became an alcoholic, while the other never touched alcohol. When each of them were asked how they ended up on their path, they both gave the same answer: I watched my father. How do you show your son love?
I mean, you know, it's I try to adapt to the new way of showing love. I feel like nowadays you got to be, really out there and with the words and with the physical touch of hugs and everything. But growing up, I never got that. So slowly, I learned a lot through my wife. Actually, she come from a big family. It's a lot of showing emotions and loving. So I try to adapt to that and just giving them words of encouragement, just telling him over and over what he means to me.
It's funny, my kids actually aid in my, I guess, my mental space in terms of dealing with things in my past more than I ever thought, right? I always say that Jeremiah and my other son Israel represent two parts of my life. Jeremiah represents what I wish I would have had somebody come and do, and Israel represents the beginning of doing it the correct way.
Trying to deal with his emotions is different, and I have to blend my assertiveness, some softness, and some understanding and flexibility to really impact him and penetrate understanding his emotions. So I'm learning in the process myself how to be open and be vulnerable to the word, the term emotions, so that it works for me, and it's an okay thing for both him and I to experience.
Like creeks flowing into rivers and rivers into lakes, there is no single path to becoming a man. Masculinity isn't fixed. It shifts, adapts, and takes shape based on where it flows. A man becomes who he is through the needs of his family, his community, and the society that he lives in. Some are shaped by presence, others by absence. Some follow what they've seen, others carve out something new. What matters is that we recognize the fluidity in that journey and make space for a more honest and more human version of manhood to exist. What do you want your sons to learn about being a man?
I want them to know that being a man it's not monolithic. It's not a cookie cutter type of thing. There's so many different things. I know the first thing that comes to mind is you got to protect your family. That's really important. I think a lot of people do protect their family, but I also think part of protecting your family is also loving your family.
You have to always expect good out of people. Everybody is smart in their own way. Everybody contributes something.
What we have is earned and not for us to take for granted. It's really important for men to do what they do and to really be out there and be men outwardly instead of in their quarters or not at all.
Mental toughness, work ethic, truthfulness.
Masculinity has nothing to do with if you cook or if you wash the dishes. Masculinity is all about how you lead your family, how you take care of your family. So if that's how you can take care of your family is by cooking for them and by feeding them, then you're a man in my eyes.
I hope I live a good enough life that when my sons mature, I'm comfortable seeing me for who I actually am. I think we gotta know that there's a point where like I can sit here and tell him to do all the right things, right? And then he becomes an adult and he sees me for who I am, and I'm like, I hope he's happy with it, comfortable with who I am as a person.
I remember when I was a young nigga feeling low. Back when I was stuck and go slow. I was just a young kid trying to get dough, so I could live like my granddad on bankroll. Yeah, I remember when I was a young nigga feeling low. Back when I was stuck in